Yeah, it's been so long in the making, and now there's a book to show for it right there. I can't believe we're holding the book right now.
That's crazy, right? It's pretty
so
thick
long.
too,
I mean, put 2 issues in the first volume here, so that's why the book is 72 pages. It's actually 76 pages when you include the cover. Let's reminisce and see like where we came from, and now that the book is printed and we're fulfilling. What do you remember from the experience of doing this comic book?
I remember when we both decided to take on a task, and it just sounded like pure just fun and bliss, right? Then we started talking about the story arcs and characters and things like that, and we were like, oh, the story can end up here, we can go here. We just started having fun with the conversation. And then we started putting pen to paper. So I'm just shocked how long a page takes, bro. That's what slaps me in the face every time I think about it. Like, it's crazy. Thinking back to younger Kev, man, I'm like, yo, I had a lot of asshole moments, man, because I would pick up comic books and kind of like scoff at some of the panels, like that's crappy. Like, why did they get so lazy? This and that. But yo, I get it. Yo, I have the utmost respect for any comic book printed at this point. Even if it's like something I just don't even believe in, I'm like, yo, kudos to that person for making it happen. Because the shit ain't easy. It's not easy, bro. It's not easy. It's hard as hell. It takes a long time. And the hardest thing to swallow is when you have a layout for a page and then you start laying out the page like for real, when you go from thumbnail to the page itself, and it's just not working, and you just fighting yourself. Like, you don't want to start over. You're like, I don't want to start this over. But you're like, it's not working. So you're looking for ways, and you get to the point where you're just like, fuck, like I gotta erase half this page, or at least cover half this page with something. That shit hurts too. So like looking back on the whole process, what would you change about your process on the next one?
I've always wanted to have these like character designs. Like, I'm a big fan of concept art, so I will buy concept art books from a movie or from something that I like Star Wars or Dune or something. I like to have a book of the Game of Thrones characters or whatever, and what they look like. And it's like back in the day when Marvel had their issues. Remember, it was like A to Z, and you'd buy issue A, and it was like all the A characters and characters that started with the letter A, and then you'd get the next issue which was like B, and then maybe you'd get the next issue which was C to D or whatever it was. And I like seeing the body of the character laid out, maybe the side and maybe the back, and their equipment and their clothes and stuff. And even though we worked on this for years, like, that's one thing we just didn't have, which was like, I didn't have like a trading card in front of me, or a file or a photo on my phone that I like literally
like character design. Yeah, character design.
Although we had the character design once we laid out a page, and we had to mimic or copy that.
We didn't though, because if you look back at some of the earlier live streams, remember I was designing the characters as you were already laying out pages to get it done.
Yeah,
remember?
yeah.
So like by the time like
we
had final page, you were already drawn it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
so
we started that process. Like, that's where the Dobbs trading card came from. That's where some of the trading cards came from, where you had a character design, and with the Dobbs one, that worked great because I used that to like see like where his armor was. Like, he had shoulder armor, he had a chest plate, and that really helped me. But when I went to do a Donovan page, let's say, like, I had to go back to that first page that did a Donovan to remember what where the cuts were on his clothing and stuff like that. That's just like a small detail, but like you said, consistency, and that was something that would have helped a little. But the one thing that was kind of a cheat was that some of the equipment like morphs in our story, so we have what's called a construction kit.
It's all right.
In the story itself, some of the equipment morphs from when you see the character, whatever the character's dealing with. So some of the stuff on Dobbs, for instance, like, was changing as the issue progressed. So it was okay for, like, let's say his backpack to look a little different because it was actually moving. It was actually becoming like a different thing. So that was one of the small cheats that we had, And then, like you said, things did look different from the first issue to the second issue, but that's just because we were two different artists.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I don't. That doesn't bother me at all. But I mean, to like, I guess if I was gonna give someone advice and they were making their own book, you gotta live with your characters for a while. Cause we had just sketched Donovan out. We came to a point where we agreed how we should look. This is Donovan, okay. But we didn't really know him. Like it's like we just met him, you know what I mean? And then we started a book with him. So it was like he wasn't committed to memory yet. So like by the time I got to my pages, he was committed to memory. Like you have to draw these guys 500 times before you're like, oh yeah, I could draw him now. I can draw him now. You know what I mean? So it's like we came up with this character design, and it's hard to stay consistent with someone you just met. Like it sounds weird to say, but it's like, yo, you just met this guy. You just met him. You just made him up. You can't just draw him 20 times consistently when you just made him up 2 hours ago, and it's not easy. It's not.
You made him up 20. You might have made him up 10 years.
I mean, he had a his concept. We conceptually made him up years ago, but physically how he looks physically, we just made him up. Because even the first sketch, we were like, yo, he's short and stocky like Mike Tyson, this and that. But the more we drew him, the further he kind of veered away from that original look a little bit. And now I feel like we both have our set renditions of Donovan. Yeah, so like if I draw Batman and you draw Batman, there's gonna be some slight differences, but it's still Batman. So like it's still within the same realm of Donovan, where I think it's acceptable.
One of the interesting things that I learned was about the printing, which is like something that is like maybe not often talked about, but when we did finally get through the printing stage. And this was one thing we were ahead of. So if we weren't ahead of the drawings and we weren't ahead of the inking and the coloring, we actually were ahead of the printing, what we're going to do with that. So many months ago, we started looking into printing options. And we realized that for such a small run of books, like if you have less than 5,000 prints, which we were far less than 5,000 prints, but if you're under 5,000, it's a certain type of printing. If you can't be on certain presses, and you can't get certain printers to print your book because it's below what they wanted for quantity. And then when we really lucked out to get the local printer that we did, able to do basically any quantity that we wanted, I really felt like that was a lucky break, because I know that especially right now, there's all these like supply type of shortages. So we kind of really lucked out to actually have a small printing, not needing a huge amount of paper and stuff. Finding the local printer that was able to print it for us, like basically with this like digital on-demand type of printing in a sense. So happy we got the thing.
Yeah, let me tell you right now,
out and
if we had to print this in the 90s, bro, it would have been at least triple the price, minimum triple.
Right.
I've been looking back, on the whole process, trying to see what I would change to kind of streamline the whole way of doing it. I think I would chop it up into sections, man. It's just attack a scene at a time. Meaning, like, how in the book, a scene, you go to one scene, then you go to another scene, then you go back to the previous scene. I got stuck in just doing page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like towards the end, when I should have just been dealing with outside shot. Just do that. Keep the continuity of that just solid. Because when you go from outside to inside, that was getting crazy sometimes. I would have the wrong palette open. I would forget what brush I used to affect, the gravel or whatever the hell it was.
One, I think the scene that worked out like the best was the space scene, because it was all done as a scene all at once. So we didn't jump back and forth. We literally illustrated the space scene, which was about 6 or 7 pages, just all in a row. That was really successful part of it.
Again, I would say I have to do something to make. I have to like let something fall by the wayside to get this done. So I was like, I'm not going to go too crazy with the background. And I was kind of, remember I was talking about this. I was like, kind of bothering me, but it taught me a lesson, man. It taught me that like there's a lot more shit that's trivial than you think it is. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to draw every last thing in the panel. You can get away with a lot of like being loose to a certain extent. And when I go back to visit other like some of my favorite books, man. Now that I'm looking at them with like an eagle eye, like can see like what shortcuts they've taken. You know what I mean? Where upon first reading the book, I'm not, you're not looking for shortcuts. You're not looking for like how good they were artistically from panel to panel, like in like a Hawk. You know what I'm saying? So you miss a lot of that. You just go with the story. You just fucking into it. So you kind of like automatically forgive certain shit. But when you go back and you're looking for shit, you find a lot, bro. You find a lot in every book. It's crazy. But I'm not to say. Wait. Let me take that back. I'm kind of say something. There are some books though, bro, that are fucking perfect.
Like a city in the background of like a Batman drawing or something, where you're like, wow, they drew every window. Or
there's some books.
They drew every windowsill.
Oh my, there's some books that make me feel terrible. Like that Rise still makes me feel pretty bad about myself. Rise crazy. It's insane. Some of the newer Batman stuff that I used to bring up in some of the shows, some of that stuff makes me fucking insane.
I really think the reason why your issue number 2 got away with having less background detail was because of what we did in issue 1, which was like do a lot of establishing shots and establish what the background looked like. So by the time you got to issue 2, which is basically a fight scene, it was okay
a lot of fighting
for things to be kind of blurry, and
like there's just a visual language when it comes to comic books that comic book fans just take for granted, bro. Like myself included. Like perfect example, like the sound effects. I did the whole issue, and you're like, yo, Kev, there's no fucking sound effects. Like you gotta put. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh shit, there's no bangs, booms, no zips, there's nothing. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't have any sound effects. So I had to go back in and put them where I thought they belonged. You know what I mean? And I found out the hard way. And when you're laying out your pencils and then you're laying out your inks on top of that, if you're not mindful about the word bubbles from the get, you're gonna give yourself a hard time later on. And I did that early in my page. I would draw the panels, not thinking about the word bubbles. And then when it came time to drop in the copy, I'm like, what? I don't want to cover the face. I don't want to cover, the main things that I drew. So like, that's one of the things I'm talking about when I revisited some of my favorite books. Like, there's some guys out there, bro, that are amazing at word bubble placement. You could just tell those are the guys that kind of draw them in with the illustration. You know what I mean? They like, you give them the text and they just draw the word bubbles. Like maybe twice I scanned in the artwork, had the colored page in digital. Now I could just like retouch the panel that I needed and just make it bigger, extend it, clone whatever I had to clone, and put the word bubble over that. But I mean, overall, man, it was exciting as hell, man. It was exciting as process, especially when we're on press and you're seeing, like there's little things that happen on press where like I think most people are gonna go through it where one page might be RGB, you gotta convert it to CMYK, then reinsert it to your InDesign file, whatever file you're using, whatever program you're using. Then resend the pages out to print, and things just get crazy. And it's just I can't even describe what it feels like to see the pages coming out. It's the craziest feeling ever to see how like there's something that happens from digital to like a tangible page that's just, I don't know, man. Am I the only one? Am I bugging out? Am I exaggerating? It's like you're having a child. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've always loved the way the comic page is 11 by 17, or 10 by 15, whatever it is, and get reduced down to the comic book size.
Yeah, that's how you keep it tight.
6 point whatever by, whatever it is. Yeah. And it's really cool because that is part of what makes the finished product look so different. So like when you're working on each page so closely, right?
That's like square one, like design rule number one, like with anything. Like if you're a new illustrator or if you're a new designer, whatever the fuck, it's always smart to create big and then shrink it down, and it's gonna make your lines look tighter. It's gonna make your it's gonna make your illustration just look so much tighter, bro. It's gonna make you look like you have the control of an illustration god. And I'm happy with the print. I'm happy with the feel, with the saturation of the pages. just happy with it, man. Can't lie. I'm loving our book. Loving our book.